Hey, and welcome to episode 36, Property Mastermind podcast with Hilary Sexton. This week, talking about how long does it take to do a property development. You're going to learn quite a bit in this episode. As usual, I'm joined by the amazing Bob Andersen, and he's going to give you some great tips on how you could probably be more effective, and I will give you some as well. Okay, so let's jump into episode 36. Hey, welcome to episode 36. Like I said, how long does it take to do a property development? Before we get started though, giving away. If you're on YouTube, you can see I'm holding up the book, Secrets of Property Millennials Exposed. If you would like to win a copy of this book, then just comment favourably on our YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe so you know that we're on. This podcast comes out every week on a Thursday. And this week, the book goes to Phil James. Phil listened to the Feasibility Calculator podcast and asked for a link to buy it. So, hey, Phil, not only that will you receive that, I did put the link under, by the way, but I will send you a copy of this book. So, yeah, congrats. And I really hope you enjoy the book and enjoy Bob's chapter on property development.
Yep. It all starts at page 121.
It all starts at page 121. Anyway, Bob, welcome to episode 36.
Oh, great to be at 36. Lady, you are powering on.
Well, it's us. Hey, did you know, actually, well, it's irrelevant, that I heard once, and you know you hear something once and you take it through life. I heard that when you hit 36, that is the age that you stay in your head for your entire life. So the music you like, the way you think about things, all of these things are at 36. So you might be 70, 80 or 90, but your head still thinks you're 36, and I still think I'm 36.
I'm just doing a bit of quick calculation, trying to think, what music was I listening to then?
Probably the same stuff.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, speaking of music, I forgot to say, we're also giving away, we've got a competition going at the moment. So if you get our newsletter, or you probably could find a link, or maybe on the Property Developer Secrets and Hacks Facebook group page, if you've bought any of our products and you'd like to go into the draw to win a $150 voucher, there's a competition in there. And it's drawn on Valentine's Day. This comes out just prior to Valentine's Day. So jump on straight away and you might be the lucky winner of a $150 voucher. So you could take your loved one out for dinner. Where are you taking me?
I was just trying to work out who I wanted to take first of all.
Oh, really?
That's a bit presumptuous.
Oh, really?
No, not really.
Me or the dog?
I'll get you some pink roses to go with that beautiful top you're wearing.
He always goes on about something to do with the clothing. You know what this was about, though?
What?
My sister had a bit of a go at me for always wearing boring clothing while I do the podcast. I'm like, it's my look. It's my professional look. So I thought today, there you go, Raven, I'm wearing pink today. So I hope she likes that.
I like it.
Thank you. Thank you,
Pink.
Bob. Anyway, hey.
Yep.
How long does it take to do a property development?
Whoa, there's a question. How long's a piece of string? How long's anything? Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of variables, isn't there, when we come to talking about property development? I mean, we could be doing a little splitter, or we could be doing a 5-story apartment block, so it's going to have a lot to do with it. So I guess the size, that's a big variable, isn't it?
Whether even like duplex way faster. So when you're talking about the actual amount of time.
Yeah, so size definitely. And that sort of leads on to type. You know, if we think about the 3 basic types of development typically that we do.
I jumped into type straight away.
Did
Sorry.
Yeah, well, land, townhouses, apartments, they're all different.
Right.
Land, obviously, we have to build a lot, we have to put services on it, but we don't have to build a building.
Yeah, I never used to think of a subdivision as a property development. And for those of you that are new, when we talk subdivision, that means getting the land ready to sell off to people to build their own houses. I never thought of that as property development.
Yeah, well, that's how I started out. I think the first 4 years of my development life, all I did was subdivisions, chopping one block of land up into lots of little bits.
Well, that's pretty ironic because obviously we have our membership program and that is the most looked at course, small subdivisions by far,
yeah,
isn't
it is. Hey, just about everybody on the Property Accelerator has done 100% of that small subdivisions course.
Because we can see the progress that our clients or at our members have, where they're at. And it's that one, it's just done.
Well, that's where property development starts for a lot of people. You know, it's small, it's easy, it's quicker, it's affordable. So, yeah, as far as time goes, well, not building buildings. That'll save time.
Well, and also you're about to re-record that into something pretty special.
Yeah, I will. Time permitting, and I'll just make time. I don't wait for time to permit.
No.
Let's get in control of it. Yeah, I'm going to embellish that and turn it into a nice little course on how to do basically small subdivisions. You know, I'm talking about 100 lots here. Because a lot of people want more detail about that, how to do it, how to get into it. So,
and it's where you started.
yeah, it is where I started.
I've never done one.
It's still there.
Maybe I need to.
We'll have to go and find one for you, I think.
Maybe it's time to rectify that.
Yeah. I guess another one of those variables too is location. It does, and I suppose when you're talking about location, councils come into the subject. My favourite subject, councils.
We barely even say that word in this house.
Steam coming out of my ear now.
No. Just one ear.
Let me have a look. No, I'm looking. I think it's 2 ears. So, yeah, look, it can vary so much from even states. I mean, some states are slower than others. You know, Victoria is not a fast state to get approvals. And councils. And I think that's a lot of the reason is a lot of the councils in Victoria can be a bit slow too. Nothing against Victoria. I love Victoria, but they can be a bit slow sometimes, some of those councils. And just thinking back about, you know, some of the students we've had, I'm remembering one student now who got an approval because, I mean, getting a development approval, there's not a lot you can do to control it. Once it hits council, sure you can check in on it, but you know, there's not a lot you can do. But this particular
unless it's your brother or sister.
Oh, that'd be good.
That
Bit
would
of
be so
insider
good.
trading.
That
I
would
love
be
it.
great, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Or maybe maybe related to the mayor. You can exert a little bit of influence. But
We've seen a bit of that happen. But anyway,
we have in the wrong way.
That's another story.
But getting back to timing and councils as well. I'm thinking of one student who got a development permit for 5 townhouses in Mackay a little while ago now. I mean, Mackay, sort of those places are starting to hum a little bit again. 5 weeks.
Whoa.
5 weeks.
What would that be in Victoria at the moment?
Oh, well, some councils, I mean, it could be 5 months in some councils. It could be a year.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. And WA is not overly fast as well. But then I'm thinking of a couple of more students. Jenny and Richie, my good friends, who were formerly in our mentoring program. They did a 3-storey plus a basement block of apartments, 10 weeks through Wollongong Council.
Whoa.
When they first told me they expected it to take 10 weeks, I said, no, go back and check. There's no way in the world that's going to go through a council in 10 weeks, and it did.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so it does vary a lot with location, with council, obviously size, and type.
And you've got to remember that there are so many different councils within each city, town, whatever. Like we're quite lucky, and especially around Brisbane, there's way less, isn't there?
One big massive council in Brisbane.
Which is that beneficial or not?
Well, yes and no. I mean, they're not the fastest, they're not the easiest.
Right.
There's worse and there's better.
Okay, let's dismiss that.
If they were really good and they were the only council, that'd be great. If they were really bad, that'd be bad. So they're not really either.
Is it in between?
Yeah, a bit in between.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, those things are hard to control as a developer. You know, how long a council is taking, you know, what state you live in. And there's a lot of variables. I mean, in fairness to councils, there's a lot of variables. If there's a lot of development going on, they're going to be busy. They're all going to be under the pump. Everything's going to take longer. And some councils, actually, when they're really busy, hire people from private enterprise on contract.
Do they?
Yeah, they'll contract architects, engineers, town planners particularly, who might work 2 or 3 days a week for the council to try and speed it up. And then some other councils don't have a healthy budget for that. And so they don't. They just try and do it internally and everything's going to drag on. You know, how compliant your application is. You know, are you trying to look to push the envelope? Are you trying to look for relaxations? Well, that's going to take longer.
In your experience with what you've done, Bob, do you mostly push the envelope?
I do push things a little, yeah. Yeah, not silly. I mean, they're calculated. When I say push the envelope, I might look for some small concessions, some small relaxations if I think it can help the project. And it's up to the town planner then to argue the toss. But there's some things you know not to argue about. And I rely on a good town
It's
planner
good that you know
tell
that.
me that. Yeah, I mean, if it's a 5%, 10% chance of something succeeding, I wouldn't bother. But if it's 50-50 or better, council might be a little bit amenable to something, then I might have a shot at it.
So those are all that kind of falls under the can't control umbrella. What about some of the things that potentially we can control that maybe affect timing in some ways, or have an impact on our timing?
Yeah. Well,
as developers,
once we get away from council, we get back in control a bit. I mean, if you think about the process of a development, preparing our application to council, we can control that because we're dealing with, architects and town planners. Once it's in council, not a lot you can do, but once it's out and we're trying to get our building permit, once again, we're in control of that to a fair degree in that, we're appointing people, we're not at the whim of a government department or a semi-government department, we've got a bit more control over what happens from there on, for the rest of the project, we've got more control than we did when we're getting our development permit.
That leads me to consultants, and this sort of came off a conversation that I had with Terry this morning. Hi, Terry, I know you listen. And Terry was jumping on the trampoline with his goat. I know.
Doesn't everybody jump on the trampoline with
when
their
he
goat?
Said, would you believe it, I'm jumping on the trampoline with my goat? And I'm like, yeah, I probably would believe that. But anyway.
Maybe the goat allowed Terry to jump on his trampoline.
Maybe it was. I don't know. Goats are pretty amazing, and people don't realise that they climb. But anyway, we've digressed. And
Apparently Terry's goat is quite proficient at double somersaults.
No, now you're just...
Sorry, Terry, I'm making that up.
Yeah, that's not true.
Consultants.
But he said to me, he was just talking about having like a draftsman who's taking too long, and what would be sort of a recommendation around that, which brings me to like our own accidental developer in the mentoring program.
The one and only?
The one and only. He's had some massive problems with timing and waiting for particular consultants. Bob, what do you recommend there? Especially at the moment because they're so busy, but what is acceptable and what's unacceptable, and what do you do when they're not acceptable things? And
There's a few loaded questions. In
I know. Go.
Yeah, I mean, once again, there's so much you can do and there's so much you can't. But if you take it right back to the beginning when you're appointing the consultant in the first place, a lot of people when they're getting, let's say, fee proposals from consultants, they look at the dollar value and they go straight to the cheapest one. But time's just as important, and time is money, and time can be more important. And so the first thing is, well, how much are they going to charge and how long are they going to take?
Yeah.
And it's sad to say, look, there's always consultants out there that will overpromise and underdeliver. And there is just about every walk of life, there's people that do that, to get a job. And
do you know what Property Mastermind, what is the what's the word I'm after?
Oh, not
what we
our
live
ethos.
by. It's always over-deliver. Always over-deliver on what you say. That's what we like to. That's the underlying thing of how we go. So maybe some of these consultants could take on some of our...
A little bit of that.
I forgot the word. It's like on the tip of my tongue. Anyway.
Yeah. So you need to set time frames up front. And I'm not saying 100% they're going to be agreed to, but what I like to do with consultants is, if I'm going to appoint them, decide on time frames, benchmarks on the way through, with an architect, when they're going to have the first concept plans, when they're going to, the next revision, when we're going to have a final set, let's say. There could be 3 benchmarks there. We want to set times on it. And the thing is that often with consultants and getting approvals is one consultant's waiting for another to get the plans off one so they can do their job. So, as soon as you get a bit of a bog down on one, you can bog down many.
That chain reaction.
Yeah, it is. It's just exactly what it is, a chain reaction. And so you're trying to get them to commit to timeframes. They're very quick to want to sign you up on an agreement and very quick to tell you how they want to get paid. Well, you've got to be equally quick about, well, that's fine, but, when are you going to deliver? What I'd love to do, and
hang on. What?
It's probably a little bit difficult to do, but you can... think about performance. I mean, I've said to them, you want me to perform, you want me to pay you as soon as you do something, and that's fine, because I often pay ahead of time. I don't wait. If it's a 14-day invoice, I'll just pay it today to get it off the desk, You
always do that.
I do.
Daily payout.
I don't like invoices sitting around. I'll just bang them off now. Even if it's a month away, I'll just get rid of it. But Like I say, look, you expect to be paid straight away, but what about if you're not on time? You know, you want me to be on time. What about if you're not? And we don't want that. So I get them to promise. I get them to commit before I actually appoint them, before I sign their agreement. I get them. I say, okay, these timeframes. What can you promise me that you're going to maintain these timeframes? And I use the word promise specifically because...
Such a strong word.
Well, people generally don't like breaking a promise. And at the end of it, I say, okay, well, look, I take this as a promise. And when I promise, I will pay you. I will pay you. In fact, I will pay you ahead of time. If you give me a 14-day invoice and you've done your job, I'll pay you ahead of time. That's my promise to you. Your promise to me is that you're going to commit to those timeframes. And then what I do, let's just say in 14 days' time, they're due to deliver on their promise with something. About 3 or 4 days before, I ring them up. See, I don't wait for them to be late.
Yeah, don't wait for them to let you down.
I don't wait for the 14th day to come and they haven't performed. And on day 17, I'll give them a call to see what's going on. If they're due to deliver on day 14, I'll phone them on day 11 or 12. And I'll say, hey, how you going? Look, you've promised me, and once again, that you're going to have the stuff ready in 4 days. Is that still the case? Does your promise still stand? Now, even if they're running late and perhaps they were thinking, I'm not going to get it done on time, that can be a little bit of like, I put it on them. I'm going to deliver my end of the bargain, my promise. Are you going to do yours? And what it does is it gives them another 3 or 4 days to get their act together if they're running late.
And probably even okay to say, I'm actually going to be, instead of leaving it 2 days for you to contact them and then another 3 days for them to get it done, and them probably thinking I'll be a week late, it probably puts it only just a couple of days over.
Yeah. And you need to do that with consultants. You need to stay on the case. Don't wait till they don't deliver and then start to phone up, because you'll get a reputation for somebody who's not hard on timeframes. And that's why you just get pushed back and back. Now, it's not an absolute, but it works reasonably well. There's always consultants who are going to be slack no matter what. And they'll come up with a bunch of excuses as to why they broke their promise, and they don't consider it breaking a promise because they'll blame COVID or they'll blame God knows what.
Oh, don't start me on that blaming of that.
Yeah, the blaming COVID thing.
Yeah.
But then what you've got to do is reallocate short time frames once they haven't met, and just keep on their case. Sometimes they'll do it just to stop getting annoyed. I had a hydraulic engineer once that I'd done this with, and he let me down in spite of the promise. And I reset the day, and it was, let's say it was a Tuesday. I drove to his office, and I went into his office. This is a dead set true story. At 11 a.m, and I said, whatever his name was, it's not Terry, but I'll use Terry's name. I said, is Terry there? Bob Andersen here. Terry's doing some work for me.
It's not Terry in the jumping goat.
Terry came out and took a backward step because I'm there. I said, mate, today's the day you're going to deliver because you promised me. You already broke one promise. Today is the day you're going to deliver. And I said, is it ready? And he said, oh, it's getting there. I said, well, mate, I'm sitting over in this chair. I went over to where you wait. And I said, I'm waiting here until you deliver on your second promise. And I'm not leaving here. And I say, 5 o'clock, if you shut the doors, I'll stay here and I'll be here tomorrow morning when you come in. I said, I'm not leaving this chair until you deliver on your second promise. It was about an hour and a half. I mean,
there's a mental note to self. If you're going to promise Bob Andersen something, make sure you mean
it. I put the hour and a half to best use as I could, working from my phone. I was determined not to leave.
And did you get it by the end of the day?
About an hour and a half later, I got the plan I was waiting for.
Wow, how good.
That guy was never late ever again.
No. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the story on consultants. I'm going to ask a bit of a tricky one, Bob, which we haven't discussed, and I don't know whether I should, but because we have a wee chat beforehand of points we want to make sure we give value in this podcast. But what if, you haven't done that promising stuff and they're not coming up with the goods? Like, how do you deal with it then? Do you just drive to the office?
The worst thing you could do is appoint a consultant, not have set time frames, and just wait for them to deliver. So, you're setting yourself up for failure if that's what you do. So, I'm saying set time frames. What if you did set time frames and they don't? What if you ask them to promise and in spite of that,
Yeah.
they still don't deliver. I mean, short of going and locking yourself in their office like I did, it's what you've got to do is trying to lay a bit of guilt on them, I guess. Remind them. I did it just recently. I'm doing quite a large project at the moment, and the town planner on one particular matter was going slowly. And I texted him and I emailed him at 7 o'clock in the morning, same text, same email. And I said, "You've now promised me 2 times, you haven't delivered." I said, "Let's put this into context." I said, "Every day on that project is costing me X dollars." And it's a substantial amount of money. I said, "How would it be if I came over to your place?" Let's say it was $900. I said, "How would it be if every morning I dropped over to your place, took $900 out of your wallet and set fire to it in front of you? Every morning, another $900. I said, "That's what you're doing to me.
Wow.
You were holding me up."
Actually, I remember that now. I was thinking, I don't know this story. I do. It was just
I got some action that day.
you didn't tell me. You didn't tell me what happened from the outcome.
Yeah, so that's maybe a bit of guilt or whatever.
But maybe, yeah, fair enough though, Bob. Like, they don't always get.
No, and you just got to be noisy and phone them. Phone them every day or every second day. They get sick of it sooner or later. Because what sometimes happens, particularly if you've got a small project, they keep flicking you on and taking care of the bigger ones where they're getting paid more.
They just sort of consider you insignificant.
Well, almost, yeah. But if you keep annoying them keep annoying them, you've got a better chance. But yeah. Anyway, I mean, you could do a whole podcast, almost like we're doing a podcast on how to deal with consultants.
Well, we kind of did a little bit, but anyway.
Yeah, but they affect the time. That's what we're talking about. You know, how long does it take to do a project? Well, man, it can get stretched out with those consultants. Yeah, don't invite them to your Christmas party.
No, unless they've been good.
Unless they've been good. Yeah, I mean, there's your consultants. But I mean, let's moving forward from that. We've got our development permit, got our construction certificate or building permit. It's on to the builder.
Woohoo!
Woo! So,
and at the moment, finding builders, they can be a little bit behind, but not all. Not in all. And remember, we're in January 2022. Not all. Like, there are people finding builders available. So
yeah. But it can take a little bit longer to build as well. But I mean, in between getting our approvals, we have to get a builder. So we could be working ahead of time. We could be talking to builders while these final permits are coming out, lining up who we want to quote, so that as soon as we've got all our documentation, we can get it straight to them. Try and hold them on a time frame to get back with a quote. You know, it could be 3 weeks or whatever it is. Once again, holding them on a time frame.
There's a big theme with Bob with that, holding people accountable for what they say they're going to do.
Well, we're always accountable. I'm accountable, to the financier. You know, I've got to pay money, I've got to pay interest, I've got to pay application fees. The financier doesn't want me to be late. Can I say to the financier, "Oh, look, things are a little bit tight this month. I've had to take Hillary out for Valentine's Day. It's absolutely slaughtered me. Can we skip the interest?
It's good to know we're thinking that.
Can we skip the $900 a day interest for a couple of months?" You know, it could be that. But keep that time frame short and get the builder on site. But once again, you know, how long's the building contract? It's another one of those things when we're getting quotes from builders. It's not just the price, it's how long they're going to take. I looked at one recently through one of our students, and one was 26 weeks, another one was 38 weeks for the same job. That's quite a lot of extra time. Extra time costs you money. It's interest, costs.
Money.
And so we have to relate that back to things like, well, what about the actual quoted price and how much extra am I going to have to pay because it's going to be so much longer? And what about the market? You know, is the market still going to be strong then? Hopefully, but, you know, there's these considerations, but it's time as well. And, I mean, with building contracts, we can get clauses in them, like liquidated damages clauses, whereby if the builder's over time, he has to pay us a certain amount of money. But then in little residential contracts, they often don't have that. So there's ways that we can penalise a builder, I guess, for being late. But ideally, we don't want the builder to be late. I love a builder to be early.
And the word penalise, it just brings a whole negative thing. Yeah. So I like that you said that. You like the builder to be early. It just sounds so much, you're working as a team, it's all going together well. I've
had builders say to me, "Oh, can I get a bonus if I finish early?" And I said, "Mate, that is a bonus if you finish early because you're getting your money early. You know, if it's a 30-week contract and you finish in 26 weeks, you're getting all your money 4 weeks early. That's your bonus. You just paid yourself a bonus by finishing early."
And you can go and do another job.
Yeah, get on to your next one, you know. So we both score on that one. But during that building phase, and particularly, at the end of construction, when, see, we might have our sales ready. What we want to do is settle. That's the big day in property development. We've got to settle, because when we settle, we can pay our loan off and the interest stops. That's a big thing. And every day it's costing us interest. So we've got to get to the settlement date as quickly as we can. How do we do that? Well, obviously the builder not going over time is a good thing. So we've got to go through a process of getting titles issued and getting people to settle. And that's not a time to go to sleep, because your loan's probably fully drawn at that point. It's costing you peak interest every day. And same old story, work out what your daily interest is, and imagine pulling that amount of cash out of your wallet every morning and setting fire to it. And if that doesn't motivate you, nothing will. And so we need to keep that tight, that period of time, so we can get our titles out and get settlement done.
So, like what we've talked about, Bob, is the whole, all the like the councils, the size of the development, the what's the word I'm after? The consultants.
Yeah.
Then like
there's a lot of variables, aren't there?
Yeah, there's so many variables. On average, what would you say from start purchase to completion? What would be the average, say, on a? Oh, it's really hard, I know, but let's go 4-pack.
Oh, look. Well, the big variable is getting an approval. Let's say it takes us a month. We've settled our site.
Yep.
Let's say it takes us a month to get our material together to lodge at council. Let's say it's 5 months before we get our development permit, so we're up to 6 months. Our building permit, let's say, is around 3 months. We're up to 9 months. It's probably at least 2 months before the builder's on site and building, because we've got to go through the quotes, preparing contracts. Where are we up to, Hillary? I'm almost losing.
So
we've got 1 plus 5 is 6 and 3 is 9, 10, 11. So
11.
Month 11, the builder's on site. A 4-pack. Well, it used to be quicker. It's a bit slower now.
Why is that?
6 to 8 months. Oh, just materials, can be a little bit slower. Tradies can be a bit slower at the moment, because they're all very busy.
Oh, busy, yes.
So let's call that 8 months for a 4-pack. I mean, to me, that's too slow, but anyway.
We're at 17 months, and then sales?
17 months, and it might be another couple of months after that by the time we got our title and start to settle. 19, 20.
So we look about 20 months?
20 months to 24, because let's face it, more often than not, things go slower than faster. That's just life. So you could round it out and say 24 months, because, you could get stuck in council for a while as well. And that's going to vary, particularly with approvals, that development approval. But, 20 to 24 months would be good. But builders take a lot of different times as well.
How big their company is. Oh my goodness, we're just opening another can of worms.
No, well, that's another subject for another day.
Another day. But I think it is quite variable, but there are some guidelines within everything, and I think that...
I think what we draw out of it is there's some things we can't control and we do our best, but the things we can control, we have to do our best.
Yes.
And we have to control them as very best we can, because that's going to get us to that settlement date quicker. It's going to mean more profit. It's going to mean less heartache and problems. Actually,
Bob, that's our next podcast, like controlling your controllables in property development. Yeah, I love that.
And the subject we haven't hit, and I'm sure you'd love to in another podcast, is the variable of people and personalities.
That falls into there, absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
I'm getting wound up. I'm ready for the next one. Let's go.
Okay, calm down. Well, I think that we've come to the end of episode 36, just prior to Valentine's Day. Remember to jump on and do our competition.
Yes.
So you can go in the draw to win a $150 voucher. If you've bought a product, it's about leaving a review, and you go in the draw. And I think that's everything, Bob. Thank you. Really insightful. Yeah, really insightful. I'm going to say the word stuff. Really insightful stuff today. Yep. I hope the people out there find it useful. We're getting lots of really good feedback. Totally appreciate it. Remember to comment, and if you think this was a good episode, you'd like to share it with somebody, do share it, because the more people that see it, then the world shows it to more people, and I think we provide content that people are interested in.
I'm interested in it.
If this is your buzz. Yeah, it is our buzz.
Yeah, it is.
All right, well, that's the end of episode 36. Thank you so much, as usual, Bob, for your generosity.
You're more than welcome.
And
if you want to see generosity, wait till Valentine's Day.
Oh, woohoo, like you've heard it here. And I was just going to say, if you want to be generous, you could make me a coffee.
Okay, let's do that. Wind this up and I'll go and make you one.
All righty. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.